It's the ride for today, boys.
Well, if you notice, this is not an SQ5 interior, and that is because we are in a Mk7 GTI today. This car belongs to my buddy Dills, who has the SQ5 actually. We swapped cars on the way to work today, and I wanted to live with the Mk7 for a day. So I'm gonna walk you guys through a little bit of my commute and give you some thoughts on the Mk7, which I know everybody always asks me to comment on. And I've never really gave a public comment on. If you guys are interested in seeing more Mk7 content, now that I have a Mk7 readily available to drive and we could, you know, install stuff, tune it, whatever, if you guys are interested in seeing that stuff, make sure you click like on this video, leave a comment below. It lets me know, one, that there's interest for it, and two, it lets certain people who may be interested in sending certain parts out know that there's interest and that you guys will watch their videos. So fun to have a GTI back on the channel, even if it's just for the short term. If you guys hate it, then obviously we won't do any more videos on it, but I can't imagine you will. This car, as far as modifications go, just has an integrated engineering downpipe and these paddle shifter extensions, which Dills loves. But overall, the package in the Mk7, I've been in many of them. This is such an upgrade from what I know as far as the Mk5 goes. I do miss the kind of round, funny looking gauges, but the gauges are super accessible. This almost feels Audi-like, dare I say, to me. This kind of center console-y area with the screen and the buttons and all that stuff. I know that I probably could have gotten an upgraded radio in the GTI and I wouldn't have had those issues. What are we set to? Oh, we got automatic climate control here. Dills left me set to 69, nice. This motor with the IS20 on it feels, in stock form, about as fast as a Stage 2 Mk5 GTI. So both Dills and I came from Mk5. Obviously I didn't move to Mk7, but he did. And we went out the other night and I was like, dude, this honestly feels as fast as the Mk5 GTI. Now, it does help that we have a DSG in this car, which is definitely helpful as far as the speed factor goes, but I don't know, these things really move. Volkswagen did a great job. Volkswagen and Audi did a great job with this motor. And the cool thing is, you know, you just swap an IS38 on and put an upgraded tune on it, and suddenly you're making Golf R power. Now, granted, this is front-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, but that would be an absolute hoot. Things specifically to me that I noticed coming from a Mk5, I already talked about the interior a little bit, but just like the fit and finish of everything, the materials they use, this little red stripe in the door, as well as the exterior, I think is such a huge upgrade from the Mk5. You notice a lot more non-car people driving. I'm gonna go through a tunnel real quick. You notice a lot more non-car people driving Mk7 GTIs, I think, than you did with the Mk6 and the Mk5. It's become a car that is still cool and still holds that hot hatch pedigree, but it's also like usable. Like normal people can drive it and not feel like it's a race car. It's a hot hatch, but it's almost lost a little bit of the hot hatchiness. It's almost lost a little bit of the hot hatchiness in a trade for a little bit more daily usability, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The pedals look super familiar. The difference between the Mk5 and this is that the pedal is mounted from the top like it would be in the S4 or the SQ5. The GTI, the Mk5, was mounted from the bottom. I mean, like, so everybody would always ask me, why don't you get a Mk7 GTI? And the answer is kind of hard because, like, this is a good car. This is a really good car, and if you've ever driven one, you know it's a really good car. There's just something that didn't quite do it for me, and I think it was what I just touched on. There's that quirkiness in the Mk5 GTI that they... Hang on, we're merging here. Got a nice little sound with just a downpipe. Really makes some power. For a stock 2.0, this thing moves alright. But yeah, so a lot of people ask me, why didn't you buy a Mk7 GTI? Like, that was the hot thing, especially when I was buying my S4, was when they were really, really hot in the scene. And honestly, if I had, I probably would have furthered my channel more, but whatever. I think what they did is they took away a little bit of the quirkiness of the Mark V, and they made it a little too usable, if that makes sense. And it just didn't have the same appeal to me. This is my first time driving one where I'm not just on a beat run with friends and I'm actually driving it, and I'm pretty amazed with how like easily it does 70 miles an hour on the highway. The GTI, or my GTI I should say, had such short gears. It was at like 3,000 RPMs at like 70 or 75. This is chilling right at 2. Obviously not many exhaust mods, so it's not uncomfortable in here. The ride's really nice. Dills doesn't have adaptive suspension or anything, but rides like a GTI. If anything, it actually feels, it's rainy, so I don't want to do anything too crazy. It feels a little more planted than the Mark V, which is to be expected. They probably did some chassis development and all that stuff. For the price that you can have one of these, it kind of seems like a no-brainer. Compared to a Mark V or Mark VI, you would have had to put a lot more money into. You had to do a downpipe, tune, intake, intercooler to probably make similar power to what this makes. Maybe a little bit more than what this makes, but a stage 1 tune on this blows the stage 2 Mark V, Mark VI out of the water. So, you have a car that costs a little bit more up front, but is just so much more car and so much more modability and tunability. And honestly, I think the Mark 7 maybe needs a little bit in the looks department, but when you see a 4-door lowered on some nice wheels, or you see the cornflower blue like one of my coworkers has, that's hot. The 7.5 is even hotter, but that's, you know, different price range. I think the headlights on the 7.5 specifically are what do it for me. The gauges, I do miss kind of the fun blue of my Mark V, but what can you do? White and red is definitely much cleaner. Let's slow down so I'm not doing triple digits in the rain. 60 roll. Yeah, this thing moves. It's not a single pulley SQ5, but I don't expect it to be in stock form. I know for a fact Mr. Teddy Westsides and I may have had a certain run-in Mexico, and a stage 2, one of these bad boys with a manual, kept up with my single pulley S4. So this girl, stage 2, with a with a DSG, she may be pulling on the SQ5 single pulley. Good thing we got a second pulley for that one coming in. 2 more things I've noticed just driving around town here. One is that the brakes are much improved over the stock Mark V brakes, which is to be expected. And 2, driving around on streets like this car does feel a lot bigger than the Mark V. I'm not sure what the actual dimensions are and stuff like that, but it feels bigger, wider. I don't know how true that is, but I think just the angle of the windshield is a little more slanted back. It feels like, I feel like I have a long nose in front of me. My GTI, maybe it's just because I've been driving the SQ5 for so long, or the S4 for so long, but my GTI, I remember it feeling really short and like I could fit into any parking spot. This, I feel like I would kind of struggle to get it into a parking spot. Well, that just about wraps up my time in the Mark 7. That's not true, I have to drive home from work, but it's dark out then. So like I said, if you want to see the Mark 7 on the channel more, just let us know in the comments. As always, thank you guys for watching. Thanks to Dills for swapping cars with me today. Go out there and spread some positivity, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.